To complete a professional-looking collar on your jacket is easy. Just take it in steps. First, construct the upper collar and facings as per your guide sheet. Again, being careful with dots and/or squares. The trick is in exact markings. After the upper collar and facings are constructed, pin the upper collar to the under collar, which is already attached to our garment. To stitch, you must be very precise. Your stitching must be exactly at the dot. I find it easier and more precise to end rather than start my stitching at these dots. First, stitch the outer edge of the collar, starting at the center back, with 2 to 3 small stitches at the corner, then towards the dot. Now, the dot is where your stitching ended when you attached the upper collar to the facing, and on the underneath side when you attached your under collar to the garment. Now this is why I wait to trim seam allowances, because it gives me a double checking. It should be 5/8 of an inch from the cut edge. Stitching this up in a 5/8 inch seam should bring you exactly at the dot. Lock in stitching carefully. Flip garment to stitch the other half of the collar. Now, to stitch the rest, remember, I like to stitch to the dots. Flip so we can go towards the dot. And pin on the opposite side. Turning seam allowance towards collar, and again check all your 5/8 inch seam allowances. It should be matching, and you should be very proud. Sew this up, again locking in starting and ending stitches. Easy, wasn't it? It just takes some time. Now cut the corners diagonally and grade all seam allowances, and take one more look at where the stitches should be. The white stitching was my under and upper collar construction, and the black stitching is what we just did. See how they should meet on both sides. Clip curves if necessary, and at the bottom of the roll line, clip. This will help the lapel roll better. Turn the jacket to the right side. Use your point turner to push out the corners. Of the collar and the lapel. Roll your seams to the underside and press well. If the fabric seems to have a hard time keeping the press, you can stitch the upper and under collar sections together by hand in the seam line. Remember in level 4 how we match stripes with pins? Use the same method now. Stick the needle in just part way. Move the lower part to line up the sewing needle, and when matched, finish your stitch. You are also using your level 2 skills by stitching in the ditch. See how all previous skills are so important. Look how beautiful. Now let's move on to sleeves.